guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to yet another video. I'm so excited to finally be recording. I know I've been like kind of MIA for about a week. I think I said something like this last video, but you know, life happens, things are getting a little crazy. I didn't have the time to record like I wanted to, but here we are, back in another video. If you're new here, hey boo, my name is Bria, basically Bria. If I am whispering or a little bit lower than I usually am, my son is asleep, so gotta be quiet. Before anything, you guys know the drill: like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff right down below. It takes 2 seconds and it helps me out a ton. Thank you to those who have already subscribed and have been tuning into my channel constantly when I post. I love you guys and I see you guys, I recognize you guys, and I thank you so much for that. I just want to get straight into these stories. As you read in the title, these are my NYC craziest experiences. I am originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, if you do not know, and I've been living here in New York City for about 4 years now, and within that span of time, some crazy things have happened. Now, these are just some isolated incidences that have really stood out in addition to plenty other. When you live here, you're susceptible to go through pretty much anything. So these are just some of the craziest things that have happened. Of course, they're smaller stories, so I wasn't able to like make them all their own separate video, if that makes sense. So I kind of compiled them into one. Except the first story, I do plan on maybe doing a video on that because I feel like I have a lot that I can help someone with. My mistakes personally can maybe help someone else in the future. I just, with all of that rambling going on, I just want to get straight into this video. Now, these stories are not in order except the first story. The first story is actually the first thing that happened to me when I moved here to New York. So I just wanted to, like, you know, start off the video with this crazy story. This story kind of started in Pittsburgh and then led up to me living in New York. It happened on the very first day I got scammed. Joanne the scammer popped out full-fledged and got me.
Hi babe, it's me, Joanne.
Now, please don't come for me. I know I completely was blind to all of the red flags. I just ignored everything that read scam. To make a long story short, before moving to New York, I did a little research on like living, and as everyone knows, New York City is extremely expensive when it comes to living. So moving straight here, if you don't necessarily have the means to live on your own, it is recommended that you live with a roommate. So I had to look for, you know, living situations that had roommates that were affordable. So to help me with that, I joined a lot of groups. I was on websites, and there's apps that help you find affordable rooms for rent and stuff like that. So I was on a lot of these, you know, apps and on these websites and these groups. And one app in particular I was on, there was a scammer that I guess was targeting people who were using this app, and they were forging, you know, the layout of this app's emails and their customer service, and they were posing to be an agency or an agent, someone who worked through this particular app, and they got me. They made everything seem so legit, so good. I talked to someone on the phone, I had a roommate, there was security, there was like a desk person, and upon moving to New York the first day, I realized it was all fake. So this person had got my money and there was nowhere for me to live. So in theory, I was homeless. If you want to hear a little bit more about this story, like maybe a little in depth, comment down below. I was embarrassed to share this story. A lot of people haven't heard it, but I want to help somebody and kind of maybe, you know, give some advice so someone doesn't make that same mistake. This next story completely freaks me out because it's just like, I don't even know what was going on. So in this story, I was traveling from the Bronx to Queens, which if you're familiar with New York Transit, is quite a long commute. It's about an hour and a half, hour 20, depending on where you're going. In this case, it was like an hour and 25 minutes. And I was traveling late at night. I really needed a friend, so I decided I'm gonna go to my friend's house. I call her up, girl, I'm coming. She's like, you know, I'm waiting for you. The trains were running really funny, so I had to get off on a stop that I wasn't familiar with, but will still get me to my destination. And so I get off, and it's really late, and there's not a lot of people because, like I said, it's late. So I am like close to the end of the platform where I would get on the front of the train. There's not really much beside me, and it's like these steps that like go up to the upper platform, and I hear a cart, like a shopping cart, coming from that area, like behind me. And I'm like, okay, this is really awkward because, you know, no one should really be back there if you think about it. But I do hear a cart, and I, you know, do what anybody else would do, and I turn around and I see someone, and they're pushing a cart, a shopping cart, literally like they came fresh from the grocery store, and it's like piled with so much stuff. I have no clue what was in it because it was covered with blankets, but it was like piled. Here's the cart, and here's like the pile. So that alone is bizarre because it's like late, and what? So then I look at the person, and that's where the real creepiness comes in. And it's a lady, and she looks like a witch. That's the only way I can describe it. And it's not like a green pimply witch that you see like on cartoons, but like, just think of like your worst nightmare. That's what this lady looked like. And I, you know, immediately felt uncomfortable. I felt uneasy, and I'm like, something's up with this lady. She's pushing this cart, and she has like this blank stare, and she kind of looks at me, and I'm like, oh, you know, I have just now met my fate. This is the end. I will be passing away. That's my conclusion. And so she walks, and at this time I'm on FaceTime with my friend. I didn't bring attention to the lady, but I'm talking to kind of, you know, calm myself and calm my nerves, and I hear her getting closer to me. And so she's right here, like right over my shoulder, and she's looking in the phone. And I turn the phone, and I'm like, oh my god. And she's breathing mad hard. She's like, so I lose it. I lose it, and I like jump and like look, and your girl starts coughing. They're the most disgusting, just demonic cough I've ever witnessed in my life, and she's coughing at me. So I run, and I hold, you know, some random person that's standing there, and I couldn't let go. I was so afraid, and I just needed some type of like security. They're like, you know, this random person's hugging me, or like not hugging, but like holding on to me. She's visibly scared. What's happening? So, you know, everyone senses that something's going on, and they look, and they're like, yo, who is this crazy lady? And she just takes her cart and turns back around and walks back into the shadows like that, as if that was her mission, to come out, cough on me, and go back. I don't know what she was trying to do to me. If you know anything about this, if a cough is symbolic to something, please let me know. I did pray it off. I asked God to take away whatever voodoo or whatever she was doing to me, take it away. This next one is short, but, you know, annoying nonetheless. As I was like remembering these stories, I realized that all of these take place in the train station, around the train station. They all have something to do with the train, which is crazy, except the first one. But that's neither here nor there. This next one, I was coming home from work, and if you are familiar with New York City Transit, it's really rare that you have a smooth commute on the trains. It's always something. There's always a pause. There's always something. In this case, something was going on where my train was rerouted, and I had to catch another train and go to another stop. Normally, I would catch one train to get home, but in this case, I had to stop somewhere and, you know, transfer to another train. So I get off on this stop that I'm not familiar with. I've never been at this stop before. And it was like really weird, really ratchet, and like just not a good time. So I'm in my own little world. I'm on my phone, and out of the corner of my eye, I see someone moving, but I could tell they were like facing directly towards me. So of course I look up, and you know, my instinct was confirmed. This person is looking right at me. It's this man. He is like super dirty. He may have been drunk. Something was going on. He wasn't right. All up in here was not all intact. But he's looking at me and he's like staring like seductively, and it was creepy as hell. Just creepy. So I'm like, okay. I gave him my little death stare, like I'm not the one, and I go back to my phone. I still feel his presence. Like he's not taking his eyes off me. I'm in this case a steak dinner, and I look back up again and he's smiling, and then my man picks up his phone and starts taking pictures and recording me. I lost it, like lost it. No shame in his game. He's literally taking pictures, recording me. At this time my train just so happens to come, so I'm like fucking delete it. Sorry, excuse my language, but I was so mad because I don't know what he's gonna do with these pictures of me. I don't know why he thought that was okay. Obviously something was going on with him for him to think that was okay, and it's New York, so no one around him was doing anything about it. I was just so angry and I felt so violated. Like, what are you gonna do with these pictures? Like, are you gonna get some money for this? Am I gonna get a cut? Like this one's not as crazy as any of the other ones, but it's still like, you know, I obviously can't forget it. So it was a memorable one. So this, again, I was on the train on my way home from work, and this was one of those rare occurrences where there were no delays. You know, the train was running pretty smooth as possible, and the train was kind of crowded, so I'm standing up. I didn't get a seat. I sensed a person standing up and standing next to me. Now on a train, especially a crowded train, you do not get up your seat unless it's like for like an elderly or pregnant person. But you don't give up your seat for no reason. That just doesn't happen unless your stop is coming up and you want to be ready and you want to just, you know, get off. So that's what I assumed. I thought nothing of it. I'm scrolling on my phone, there's nothing else to do. But when I realized that stops were coming up and this person's not getting off, I'm like, ugh, here we go. So it took them a little while, but eventually he says something. I don't remember his exact words, but it was something to get my attention, and I look and he is full-blown covered in tattoos, I mean on his face. And fun fact about me, if you have tattoos on your face, I am immediately intimidated. I feel like if you get tattoos on your face, you are capable of anything. That's just me. So I noticed that and I'm like, okay, this guy is no joke. And the way he was speaking was not disrespectful, it wasn't impolite, but it was very aggressive, and I felt as if I had to reply, which I hate because it's like I shouldn't have to reply to anybody I don't want to, but I felt like I had to or he would get angry, and I don't know this man. But everything he said, I was like answering. Like I said, it wasn't anything like invasive, he wasn't mean, but he was, you know, aggressive. He then asked me, where are you coming from? And I'm like, I'm coming from work. And then he's like, what are you doing tomorrow? And I'm like, I work. He's like, okay, I'm taking you to work tomorrow. I will be taking you to work tomorrow. And I'm like, sir, I don't even know you. How are you taking me anywhere? He's like, where do you live? Where's your stop? And I'm not telling him my stop because why would I? I've never seen this man a day in my life. I don't know him. I'm not gonna tell him where I live. So I'm like, oh, I just have a few stops, you know, trying to like not answer the question. And he's like, okay, cool. And it was like all right, you don't want to tell me? Cool, kind of cool. And I'm like, okay. Now I'm getting uncomfortable. I wasn't uncomfortable before, but now I'm really uncomfortable. My stop comes up, I get ready to get off, and who do you think gets off with me? My friend. My friend gets off with me. He's like, I'm walking you home. I'm like, no, it's okay. He was like, I'm walking you home. And I'm like, oh my fucking goodness. I text my friend, and I text her on the low, and I'm like, emergency, call me and tell me something's going on. You need me, blah, blah, blah. She got the message, so she calls me back. I don't remember what she said, but she made up some little elaborate, you know, lie. And I'm like, oh my god, my friend needs me. I have to get back on the train. I have to go back to the city. And by this point, I guess he was familiar with the area that I lived in, so he was like, all right, I'll see you again, right? I'll see you again. I hauled ass back to the train and went back one stop, got off the train, and went back home. But I never seen him again. I don't know what he did after that. I don't know what that whole thing was, but it was a little weird. So this last one really took a toll on me because it freaked me out, and it's a story I will never forget. So here we go. So this story takes place when I was working at my second job here in New York, and it was in a really nice area, a really nice part of Manhattan. But this man was really frequent. He was always in this area, and I was pretty sure he lived in the train station, but I would never know. There was so many ways for me to get to my job, but one way, which was the quickest way, was the way that I chose to take every single day. Obviously, I worked here at this job for a while before this happened, but I remember seeing this person. This man would always be sitting at a bench that is in the train station every single time I got off the train. And what really weirded me out about him was the fact that he always had a big bubble coat on, like big. He was pretty tall, but his bubble coat was big. He would have it on through all seasons, summer, winter, fall, spring, you name it. He had this bubble coat on, which was really alarming because 90 degrees outside and you have a bubble coat on, something's going on. So the thing about this man is he would whisper to himself. It's quite often that people will talk to themselves or, you know, do weird things, but he was whispering to himself, and that just made him all the more creepier. I would never, you know, had a run-in with him before this, but every time I saw him, he gave me this uneasy feeling. And this one day, I made the huge mistake of making eye contact with him. That was the beginning of this saga. So this one day in particular, I didn't intentionally make eye contact with him. You know when you just look somewhere and you just so happen to make eye contact with someone? In this case, it just so happened to be my puffer coat friend. In this case, it just so happened to be Mr. Bubblecoat. And I instantly felt numb, like weird. He looked at me, but it was like he was looking through me, and it was like, ugh, I never want to feel like that again. But so I just kept going, and I didn't see him for a little while. Sometime after, I'm not sure the exact time after this, but I'm coming home from work, and this job, I believe around like 8, I believe. So at this time it was a little bit later, but it was summertime, so the sun was out partially, but it was setting, so it was pretty dark outside, but there was a little bit of light. I remember walking down the street that would take me to the train, and I saw a silhouette, and I could make out the silhouette because it was a familiar silhouette, and it happened to be the man who I always saw in the train station. Now, bear in mind, this is the first time I'm seeing him outside of the train station. He's, you know, a civilian at this point, and I'm like, oh, I've never seen him out of the train station. That's strange. And he's smoking a cigarette, and then I'm thinking, like, who gave this man a cigarette, and how did he inquire about it? Like, this man just whispers all day. Like, what's going on here? I again get a little uneasy because he's outside of his natural habitat, or like where I always see him, and he's just smoking, and he's just standing there. It's 95 degrees and he has a bubble coat on. Like, this just is just a recipe for disaster. So as I'm walking, I go past him and I decide to act like I'm taking a selfie just to be safe. So I have the front camera on me, and I raise it up and I look, and behind me, who do you think it is? Mr. Bubblecoat. And he's slowly walking, but he is walking behind me, and I freaked out. I hit a quick left, I crossed the street, and I power walked to the train station. There were people, you know, on the street, so I didn't feel completely unsafe, but I didn't want anything to do with whatever he had planned. So I power walked to the train and I went home. Now this is where it gets crazy. Sometime after that, like I said, I don't remember the exact like time frames, but sometime after that, I was on break, and it was a beautiful day outside, and I worked by a park, and I worked by like the New York City scenery. So I was like, you know what, for my break, I'm just gonna get, you know, a snack and walk around and enjoy the weather. So so I thought. There's a store not too far from my job, and I'm walking to get a little snack, and as I'm walking I see towards the direction I have to go, Mr. Bubblecoat is sitting there, and he's standing on the corner. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to have another run-in with him. Maybe he doesn't remember me. No, he remembered me. So I'm walking, I'm like, no eye contact, no eye contact, no eye contact, and I successfully didn't make eye contact, but I still felt him. With my luck, I made it to the corner, and the light turns green, so I can't cross the street. Okay, just leave me out here to die, universe. Just take me now. And so I feel a presence. Fun fact about me, one of my biggest fears or things that creep me out is feeling something like rush up to me from behind and not knowing what it is. Like, that just freaks me out. So I hear and felt him like walk up to me like fast, and I like freeze because I don't know what to do. And he's right here, and he says something, and I'm like, he starts whispering to me. His normal whisper that he does to himself, he's now doing in my ear. So I like low-key go into the street, like, come on, turn red so I can go. It turns red, and I start. I was so scared. I don't know what that was, even though that's like a small little thing, like he didn't touch me, but something about that really freaked me out. I was shaking. I get my snacks, and at this point I have no type of appetite. From prior experiences and my observation, this guy stays in the same area for long periods of time. Let me, you know, not walk that same way to get back to work. So I decided it would be smart if I walked the longer way. So I walked the longer way, which is, instead of going back this way, I go this way, like a few blocks up, so I can, this is the street that my job is on. I would go a few blocks up, come this way, and then go back down the street to my job. I, you know, go those few blocks, I make my turn, and on the corner, waiting for me, is this man. How he knew I was gonna go that way, I don't know if he saw me, I don't know if he followed me and I just didn't know. There's no way he could have followed me because the store I went to was small. I could see everything. When I came out, I looked all around, I didn't see him, so I have no clue how he could be there. I died inside. I was so freaked out. I ran to work. I'm shaking, I'm hot, low-key sweating, and I told my coworkers what happened. So we look outside the window and across the street, because it was a glass store, and across the street, he's standing there. He's standing there. He's just standing there. Yep. So thank God this was like hours before I got to work. By the time I left, I was really freaked out, but he was not there, thank God. And for the rest of my time working in that area, I had to avoid him. I no longer took the train there. I had to take another route. I was super cautious on my brakes, about my surroundings. If I saw him, I would go the other way. Yeah, so I just had to live my whole new life and change up everything because of Mr. Bubblecoat. And that's that. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you were thoroughly entertained by my series of unfortunate events here in New York City. If anything else happens that's story-worthy, I'll be sure to share it with you guys. If you guys ever experience anything this creepy or like weird, whether it's in New York or not, please share it down below. I want to hear your stories. Let's talk about it. That is it. I will see you guys in my next video. Deuces.